Let's see if we're connected to LinkedIn yet. And if we are, I'm ready to roll. And it's not showing connection yet. That's interesting. Let me hit refresh there. See if it's going. No, not going yet. That's really interesting that there's a delay, even though I've started the recording. I'll just simply say, hi, I'm Jeff Altman, the big game hunter. I started to be called the big game hunter when I did recruiting. I'd hunt down leaders in staff organizations. I did it for a long, long time and filled a lot of positions. Now, people hire me for no BS job search advice and career coaching globally because I make the process much, much easier for people. I started career coach office hours probably about 2.5 years ago, did it for about a year and a half, put it on hiatus for about 10 months, and I've been back doing it again weekly on Tuesdays at noon Eastern time in the United States. So I'm regularly doing it. I haven't looked to see when Christmas is this year, but that would probably be a day I skip. And I may take off Christmas week and pick up again after the new year. I'll figure that out later. But I'll just simply say that if you've got a question for me about your job search, if you want some advice, you can put your question into chat so I can answer it today. I also want to mention to you that I have a website at jobsearch.community where I've got a lot of free courses and PDFs on the website. And it's there to wind up helping someone be more effective with their search. So if free stuff is there, there's a first tier where I answer questions from people daily, and there's more. The more video courses, books, and guides. I have a second tier where you can also get me on a Zoom call and I can answer questions. And I've got the video courses. And then there's one-on-one coaching with people that winds up being effective as well. So go to Job Search Community, take a look around. I think you'll find information there that'll help you whether you hire me or not. And I'd like to help with your job search because what I'm seeing on LinkedIn in particular, and what I'm seeing between the government data as well, is that there's a lot of college educated professionals who are out of work and really struggling to land another position. And there's no reason for you to figure out what you're doing wrong. I can help. I can help you land your next job more quickly. So I've received a number of questions in advance. I'm going to put the first one into chat so you can see it. And the first one is, I've been looking for a job for a long time. I've called, emailed, visited potential employers, and even asked around to no avail. What more can I do to get hired? Well, the question is, what are you doing wrong that's keeping you from getting hired? So you've been asking around, which I assume is networking, but may not be. And if you're getting interviews, you're obviously not getting across the finish line. So I wanted to tell you, you probably need to interview better and learn how to interview better. You're probably interviewing like most people do. You're like an amateur. You think you know what to do, but you really don't. And what's painfully obvious is that you're thrashing around trying to figure out what to do. So you're calling. Maybe you're visiting places. You're visiting potential employers, asking around, called, emailed. It's not working for you. You need to know how to do it differently. Again, I'll mention jobsearch.community is a place where you can learn more. But for today, I'll simply say, you're trying to get interviews. You're not getting results. Your resume probably isn't good. it needs to be improved. Your LinkedIn profile probably isn't helping and may not be congruent with the positions you're applying for. You're trying to network, which is this asking around stuff. You need to learn how to do it better. And this idea of visiting potential employers, unless you're in retail, is a waste of time because it's what amateurs do. So get better at the process of finding work, and you will start getting more results. Normally, what I'll say is when I diagnose what someone's doing wrong in their job search, I'll break it down by saying, if you're not getting interviews, your resume stinks, your resume and LinkedIn profile are not congruent, you're applying for things you'd like to do but aren't qualified to do, or your resume just doesn't make a case for why you should be considered. Those are the basics, but I tried to go a little bit further to try and help you. Again, let's go to the next question. Why do candidates still chase recruiters after face-to-face interviews, knowing fully well that if the recruiter or hiring manager wants to hire a particular candidate, they'll reach out to him or her? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of reasons why this happens. The first one starts off with, you want to remind people that you're still there and interested because they forget. They forget. And thus, by refreshing their memory, they suddenly go, oh, I remember him. I remember her. And, it becomes a way that you spark their memory to consider you. Also, you're expressing your interest in the role with the follow-up. And yes, in theory, they'll contact you if they're ready to hire you, but it rarely works that way. Normally, once time is going by, too much time is going by, you're going to be rejected or ghosted out of this opportunity. So rather than play games, you can flush it out and see what they have to say. Remind them that you exist so that maybe they'll get clear about what it is that they're prepared to do vis-a-vis you and make it a decision. Even if it's a no, you get a decision from them. Okay. Here's another question I received from someone. Why do employers prefer networking over interviewing? Well, I think even if they network, they're going to interview because it's rare that someone's just going to be hired based upon a recommendation. But I know when I did recruiting, and I stopped doing that about 7 years ago after a long career doing it, but what happens with a recommendation from someone that you receive as a result of networking, it's coming in effect with social proof, with a testimonial that you are qualified to do this kind of work. And thus, yes, they're going to interview you to verify that that's true, but you're also not going to wind up being a stranger. You're going to wind up being someone who's coming with a testimonial about you and your capabilities that advantages you over the stranger. For example, if when I did recruiting, I called up someone I knew for a number of years and said, I'm doing a search for a client. They're looking for someone who do you know who can do this kind of work? Recommendations from them would be much more valued than someone who responded to an ad. And thus, I came in effect with a referral. I came with a reference to this person. What did they do well? How did they go about doing it? What did you like about them? Is it someone that you worked with? What were their strengths? Where they have a perceived deficiency? No one's perfect, so tell me the truth. And this allowed me to fill more positions because I knew the backstory about people, and that allowed me to be more effective in serving my clients. So, why do they prefer uh, networking over interviewing, which I'm taking to be talking to strangers? Well, because you're coming with that recommendation from someone that makes a difference. I'm just going to remind you here that if you've got a question for me about your job search, put your question into chat. I'll answer your question today. Okay. Here's another one I received. Are there experts who specialize in optimizing LinkedIn profiles? Sorry, there we go. I apologize. I clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. Are there experts who specialize in optimizing LinkedIn profiles for the maximum impact? The language here is awful, but yes, there are people who specialize in optimizing LinkedIn profiles. Doesn't guarantee that you're going to get an interview. Doesn't guarantee anything. As a matter of fact, you may have written the perfect LinkedIn profile for where you are and what your capabilities are. But the fact is, yes, there are people like me who will critique a LinkedIn profile and help it get better results by tweaking certain mistakes that you're making that are going to prove costly to you. So you're always better off getting a recommendation of someone who can optimize your profile so that you stand out. You're located in searches on LinkedIn and not just sitting there with a dead profile. Remember, when firms are searching on LinkedIn, they're trying to fill a particular position. If they're not looking for someone like you may not turn up. So the long and the short of it is, yes, there are people who optimize LinkedIn profiles, but you have to have the right skills that are in demand to get results. Not in demand, no wonderful work that I've done is going to generate interviews for you. So that's it in a nutshell. Let's go to the next question. Does it look bad if I don't have a LinkedIn account? No. Now, if you're a software developer and without a LinkedIn account and you have 5 years of experience, what planet are you on? If you're a plumber and don't have a LinkedIn account, who cares? LinkedIn is really, and I know they deny this if they heard it, but the fact is where LinkedIn is most effective is for college educated professionals who are in an office environment. It also works very well for salespeople who are mining the data of LinkedIn to find clients. But that's not what we're here for today. What we're here for today is for opportunities that or ways to help you find a job. But as I said, what LinkedIn does is it provides an abundant amount of data that you can work through in order to find the position that you can fill. In the work that I do, like I said earlier, people hire me for no BS job search advice and career coaching globally because I make the process much easier for people. So it helps to have a LinkedIn profile unless you're in certain professions that are not for college educated professionals. And I'm sure somewhere on LinkedIn, there are 5,000 plumbers in the United States who have LinkedIn profiles. But are they checking them daily? Probably not. Are they checking them twice a day? Certainly not. And thus, you've got to be visible to be found. And as a college educated office professional, yeah, it's frustrating, but that's what you got to do. You got to keep putting yourself out in order to be found. Now, Michael asked, I'm getting discouraged. I'm tailoring my resume per job opportunity, but I'm rarely getting past the screener. My LinkedIn profile, I believe, is optimized. So, what tips can I provide to get the screener to pass me through? Okay. So, Michael, I'm going to assume here that when you're talking about the screener, it's the screening interview. And not the screening interview, it's just the resume. If it's the screening interview, my answer is going to be different. So in chat, just let me know it's the resume, because that's where I'm going to start off with, is what you can do to get better results with your resume. And if it's on the screening interview, I'll have a different answer. But for the purposes of a screening resume, what's often happening is that your resume may be optimized for the job. However, what it's not doing is placing the information early enough in the resume. For the interview, that's different. Thank you. Let me finish with the resume. It's not early enough in a resume for the system to believe that you're qualified. It's one of the reasons why, if someone is sending a cover letter, I like cover letters to be page 1 of the resume, putting in all the skills and functions of the job that are in the ad or that you've been told about, how long and how recently, and then in the body of the resume, it shows up a second time and the systems believe you have the right background. Now, Michael said it's in the interview. That's easy. If you think about the way most screening interviews go, it's a 25-year-old recruiter who is there, could be 35, but they're not 65. They're a younger recruiter who doesn't really know what you do, but they're looking for keywords and wanting to hear keywords back to you that allows them to believe that you're qualified. So to get past the screening interview, a lot of the interviews are basically, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? And all they really want to hear is a couple of things. They want to hear that you've done what it is that they're looking for. That's easy. So, you have to make it pre-chewed and pre-digested for a lot of them. They want to know that you speak English fluently. I don't know if that's true of you. I assume so, but they want to make sure you communicate well, that you write well, and for the purpose of the interview, they're trying to get a sense of your personality. Are you smart or not, aggressive or not, how you'd fit into the organization. So to get past them, I always encourage people to start off the interview with this statement. Hey, thanks so much for making time to meet with me today. I really appreciate it. I saw this job description, or I was referred by Rona, the recruiter, who told me about the job, or Phil, who works in your whatever department it is, but I want to get your take on the role. Could you tell me about the job as you see it and what I can do to help? The reason for that's really very simple. Job descriptions maybe are 80% accurate. And I say that because most of them are generated because on Friday afternoon, after someone gave notice, a manager calls over to their HR business partner and goes, you got that job description we used to hire Michael? Yeah, he just gave notice. So maybe you could get it out to our recruiting resources, put it on LinkedIn, put it on the website, and see if you can get it into my calendar for Tuesday. No one updates them. And as a result, even if this is a fresh job description, by the time you walk in the door, their thinking about the job may have changed. So both with the screener and with the hiring manager, you ask this question. In the case of the screener, in the case of the hiring manager, you can simply say, I spoke with whatever their first name is about the role, and they gave me their impression of it, but I want to get your take on it. Could you tell me about the job as you see it and what I can do to help? And thus you're hearing their current thinking about the role at the beginning of the interview instead of at the end when most people hear about it. At the end of the interview when they say, so do you have any questions for us? Yeah, tell me about the job. but it's already too late to do anything with that information because they've already decided. So you want to hear about it at the beginning. So you can talk about what you've done that matters to them and not just talk about what you've done. They may not care about 25% of what you might normally talk about. As a result, you may be talking about the wrong things to them instead of what they care about. So start off answering, before they ask you a question, start off by asking them that question so that when they say, tell me about yourself and what you've been doing professionally or walk me through your background, Michael, you can start off by saying, and this is going to sound pretty typical. Well, I've been in the field now for 15 years. For the last 3 years, I've been working for so-and-so, or I did this and that and this and that. Before that, I worked for so-and-so, or I did such and such. And here's the magic phrase. But what's probably most relevant to my background for this role is my experience with, and then you tell them what you've done that relates to what it is they just told you that they care about. That's going to get you past the screener. It's also going to perk the interest or pique the interest of the hiring manager. And people tell me that when they use this approach, they often have what I've jokingly referred to as a Scooby-Doo moment. You know, like where the big dog's ears perk up in every cartoon, because they know the next thing you're going to say after, but what's probably most relevant to my background for this role is my experience with. The next thing you're going to say is going to connect the dots for them between what it is they're looking for and what it is you've done. Keep your answers to 1:15 to no more than 1:30. That will get you past the screener. It's going to be very effective for hiring managers as well. It will work like a gem because I know it has. I filled, from the time I started teaching this methodology, when I was a recruiter, I filled a lot more positions. And as a coach, I filled a lot more positions. So try it my way. It will make a difference. And folks, if you have questions for me, don't hesitate to put them into chat. I'd be very happy to answer them for you. And Michael, if you have more, don't hesitate to ask, okay? Let's go to a next question. Let's see. Here's a fun one. Let me come back here so I can put it into chat. What should I do if the interviewer doesn't respond to messages? He or she asked me to meet them, but I didn't receive the details for the interview session until the day I was supposed to attend the interview. Oh my God. Michael, is there something here you're looking for from me? And then I'm going to go into the next, just put what I said or did that was confusing to you so that in this way I can solve it while I'm still doing the session. But I'm on to the next question for now. The interviewer doesn't respond to my messages. He or she asked me to meet them, but I didn't receive the details for the interview until the day I was supposed to attend the interview. So what I would do is, if obviously this caused a problem. And by the way, Elle, thank you so much. Yeah, doesn't it make a difference, Elle, when you know what it is that they're really thinking about at the beginning instead of at the end? So this way, the goal is to connect the dots between what you've done and what matters to them. So you'll get past a lot more interviews by doing this than by not doing it and trying to guess and just talking about what you've done that they don't care about. Remember, screeners are just like, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Now, let me go back to this question. So this obviously caused a problem for you where no one was getting back to you. They contact you at 8:30 that morning. I say, okay, we're confirmed for 12. Well, I couldn't leave that slot open, I'd respond by saying. And I frankly made other plans with a user of mine because you didn't get back to me for the last week. So no disrespect intended, I don't have that slot available anymore. Can we meet at? And then you offer a time that's good for you. And if they don't get back to you, move on. I think they will. On their side, they'll be a little pissy, but just because that's the way people are when they make a mistake like that and not confirming appointments and just thinking you're going to jump through hoops to accommodate them. But remember, this is about power. And if you think about that interview opening that I just presented, normally what happens is you walk in and they've got all the power and you're the subordinate, right? But because you now know what it is that they're looking for, you've leveled the power differential between the two of you. Same thing here. What you wind up doing is not being the subordinate, not being the supplicant, not being the one that they can push around right away. You're a responsible adult. You've got other responsibilities in life. Even if you're not working right now, what you're able to say is, I didn't hear back from you. Frankly, I've got someone else that's interviewing me at that slot because I didn't hear back from you. Can we do it tomorrow at the same time? So I'll simply say, if you jump through the hoop, there's less respect for you. Plus, you're also going to walk in annoyed, and that's not going to serve you either. So what I would simply do is put it back on them and say, I'm no longer available at that time because I didn't hear from you. As a result, I'm available at tomorrow at the same time, if that works for you. If not, could you do it at such and such time? And they'll normally be a little bit more accommodating because you're training them not to treat you like you're worthless and your time is worthless. Okay. Here's another question. And Elle, by the way, if you've got a question for me, don't hesitate to ask. Is that the opening question I did? Sorry. It seems I may be mistaken. Sorry. So I apologize. I think I've already answered this question. But let me go on to the next one in my queue here. What are the best practices for conducting effective remote job interviews? I'm thinking that maybe this is an employer asking this question, so I'm going to pass on that and go to the final question I've received in advance for today. And let me just get that into chat. There we go. There we go. What do I do if I interview for two different companies and they both offer me the job? How do I tell one company that I've taken an offer elsewhere? Easy. Now, I'm working with the assumption that you're dealing with a company directly and you're not working through a third-party recruiter. If I'm mistaken and you happen to be on the call, let me know. So what do? You contact the firm that you're declining the offer from, and you might just simply send them an email that says, thank you so much for considering me for this position. Now they know as soon as they read that sentence, they know you're turning down the offer. The rest of it says, I've accepted another offer. I'm going to be starting with that firm on such and such date. I truly appreciate the fact that you considered me for this role. It was a very difficult decision, but I've chosen to accept this other position. If something changes, I'll let you know. But it was a great opportunity, but I think I found something even better. In other words, you're a nice person to them. You're not rude or abusive. You just politely write to them or call them. And remember, if you leave voicemail, that's okay. You can tell them through voicemail. But the idea is don't ghost them. Let them know that you made a decision. Like there's a young man I've coached was interning for one organization, decided to leave because he wasn't getting sufficient hours for his master's program. So he got an offer from one place and then an offer from a second place. He said yes to the first one because, well, it's not important why, but now want to do the second one. After probing, it was clear that he hadn't tell the first one he was taking the second one. And he told them, they said, thank you for not ghosting us. We have someone as a backstop in case this had happened. And thank you for letting us know. So the way to always do it is politely. You can do it by email. You can do it by phone. Depending upon the age of the person, you can do it as text. Just don't wait until the last minute to drop it in their lap and do something. Let's see what else is. I've had a couple of recruiters reach out saying they want to work with me in my job search. I met with them and I haven't heard from them again. Should I nudge them because I remain unemployed? Yes, absolutely. Now, if they don't take the call, that basically translates or respond to your email, that basically translates into your background was a little bit different than what we were looking for this particular client. We'll be in touch when we have something that is a better fit for you. But if you can get them on the phone, they may say, I haven't heard back from the client yet, or it's on their desk, and I expect I'm going to hear from them in the next day or two. Stay tuned, or words to that effect. But ghosting in response to a call or email or text, you didn't fit. Doing one of those other things, they're buying some time. Yes, do nudge them. Don't just sit there passively by the phone waiting like it's Thursday night and you're waiting for a call from the boy or girl that you've been dating. And will they call me? Will they call? And you don't know if you have a date for Saturday night. So don't do it that way, okay? Call them, let them know that you're still interested. And Elle, I hope that was helpful to you. And I'm going to stall for a second. If anyone else has a question, put it into chat. I'd be very happy to answer it. And if not, I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. I'll be back next week with more of Career Coach Office Hours. I also want to encourage you, go to jobsearch.community. The homepage has a number of free courses, PDFs, other things that are going to help you. And there's a lot more within the site. It's inexpensive. I think it's $49 as an insider, where you can ask me questions over chat, plus have access to more video courses, books, and guides that I list on the homepage as well, so you know what you're joining for. For $79, you can get me on a Zoom call twice a month where I can do some work with you one-on-one. And then there's the Premier service where I do one-on-one or group coaching with people. I want to help you land your next role. Hope you have a terrific day. I'll be back next Tuesday again at noon Eastern. Be great.